Matthew Brown, a former U.S. national security official and intelligence contractor with top-secret SCI clearance, emerged as a whistleblower in April 2025, publicly identifying himself as the author of the Immaculate Constellation report. This document, submitted to the Congressional Record in November 2024, alleges the existence of a covert, unacknowledged special access program, a USAP, within the Pentagon, codenamed Immaculate Constellation, which has been tracking and managing data on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs, without congressional oversight for decades. Brown, who served as a policy advisor for the Office of the Secretary of Defense, a technical advisor for the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, and a program advisor for the Department of State, discovered the program accidentally in 2018 while reviewing misfiled documents on a shared Pentagon server labeled 2018 Shriver War Games. The Immaculate Constellation program is described as a strategic intelligence operation focused on global surveillance of UAPs, capturing high-quality multi-sensor data, including videos and imagery of anomalous craft. Brown accessed UAP videos on the Joint Worldwide Intelligence Communications System, otherwise known as JWICS, describing them as anomalous, exotic, and unexplainable, though not definitively extraterrestrial. A notable incident detailed in the report involved a large black triangular craft decloaking over Russian naval vessels in the Pacific, photographed by a clandestine U.S. submersible, with analysis suggesting the Russians had foreknowledge of the event. The report also referenced a centralized UAP data repository and mentioned alien reproduction vehicles, ARVs, hinting at possible reverse-engineered technology. Brown's disclosure, shared in a three-part interview on the Weaponized podcast with journalists Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, was motivated by a sense of duty and a belief that the public deserves transparency. He expressed significant personal risk, fearing life imprisonment or execution due to the sensitive nature of the classified information, and noted the toll on his career and future plans. Brown followed legal protocols, submitting his materials for pre-publication review at the State Department, which did not object. His revelations have sparked congressional interest, with figures like Representative Nancy Mace raising concerns about secrecy and constitutional violations. Further disclosures are anticipated as Brown's testimony is part of a broader wave of whistleblower accounts, including those from David Grush and Luis Elizondo, fueling calls for UAP-related hearings expected in May of 2025, this month. Skeptics, however, question the program's existence, suggesting the Immaculate Constellation file might be a fictional war game scenario from the 2018 Shriver War Games, potentially inspired by UAP lore following the 2017 ATIP exposure. No conclusive evidence has been made to the public, and the Pentagon has denied the program's existence. Brown's claims remain a focal point in the ongoing UAP disclosure debate, balancing credible testimony with the absence of tangible proof.
Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the goddamn internet. So now that you're all caught up on the fucking recap of the last season of This Is Planet Earth and shit's going crazy, we've got an update. Weaponized released a season 2 episode of their episode with this whistleblower about Immaculate Constellation, and we're going to be checking it out together, guys. New update, new video, you know how it goes. Daily uploads, subscribe, notifications on, like, comment, and share. All this helps so fucking much. You guys have no idea. $1, you can literally donate $1, become my first Patreon member, and that would be literally the best thing ever. I will never forget you my whole life. Like, is anyone down for that? But regardless, and in conclusion, we're going to be watching this video. It's a good one. Watch till the end. Best parts are there. And yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay with me. Let's watch this thing.
So the idea that it could have been a war game Could it have been something, some of these UFOs that have been seen over nuclear missile bases, silos, and things of that sort, the implication has been, as with drones, that it's a readiness test of some sort. We're going to put some secret operation, unexpected, and see how people and systems react to it. Could that have been what was going on here?
Yeah, I mean, it is something that, on the surface level appears plausible. I do not believe that to be the case, given the circumstances of how it was located, the fact that hundreds of people had access to that system, the fact of its generic labeling. It wasn't, there's no red flags on that to draw any fish to the bait, as it were, to catch somebody. And then the process of reporting it, there's no outcome from that, besides apparently making a lot of people pissed off and worried and kind of scared.
Let me add to that. Something that we noticed, and I believe it's true reporting, which is that when David Grush testified, Immaculate Constellation, before the world ever knew those words, was searched on Google a ton. Additionally, over the research and time and sources that we have, it has been confirmed to us under no uncertain terms that that was the name of a program with that nature. So if we're looking at it as like a LARP kind of thing, we get to the point where there's too many outside confirmation after the fact, as well as
right.
Yeah.
If that had been the only thing I had seen and none of the rest of this saga had happened,
right,
we wouldn't be talking.
Totally.
So this man, it really exhausted all his options and went down through the right chain of command, and it proved useless to him. He is a worker for the people, by the people, and the unelected deep state has made elected officials obsolete, seemingly, right? So, yeah, it's really bad that he had to go to all his superior officers, superiors in all formats and kinds. He even went to his superior's superior. What ballsy act is that, right? And the way he describes what happened and how they just looked at him and was like, delete that, it's like so weird. Do you think it's the war games? What is war games? Does anybody have some expertise in this? Guys, the comments and activity on my last video was phenomenal and insane, okay? Big thanks to everyone. Talking in the premiere chat was a really fun time, and I appreciate all that. And let's keep watching.
When I was in USDI, I read the transcripts of Sean Kirkpatrick briefing Senator Rubio, Senator Warren, and Senator Gillibrand on the results of his investigation in his congressionally tasked Arrow report. Mm-hmm. And those transcripts, which were supposed to be open kimono, here's the truth, Mr. Senator, Mrs. Senator, Sean Kirkpatrick absolutely distorted, downplayed, and can't prove it, but I would say outright lied to the people who have direct responsibility for him.
Saying what? What did he say that was a lie?
So it's more of a lie of the whole thing,
picture,
the big picture, right? Mm-hmm. In the meeting, it's Congressman Rubio, we've heard about this incident. We just don't have enough data to go on it to really know what this is. We don't have any way of really figuring out what's going on. It could just be an anomaly. In fact, it's most likely an anomaly. So starting with an acknowledgement that, here, you have some data, but we have the insight and the scientific expertise to make you feel at ease.
Nothing to see here, folks. Move along.
Exactly. Although there was also political discussion involved and historic discussion. And I read these transcripts once and immediately knew that
Veiled threat?
No, I knew that I was now something else. I had inside knowledge into the deception of our government by elements of our intelligence community. My blood ran cold at a specific point in that transcript where Mr. Rubio is discussing the legacy program. This was a subject of direct discussion with Sean Kirkpatrick in these meetings. And based on Mr. Kirkpatrick's replies about as vague as they were, but unable to escape the truth of the legacy program, Mr. Rubio's response was, well, what the hell is the executive branch doing? Have they been running this for 60 years without congressional oversight? I might be paraphrasing a little, but that's near enough verbatim. And I saw that line, and I basically closed that file and had a pretty sleepless night.
All right, you said your blood ran cold, meaning you're pissed, you're spooked.
Scared.
What is scared?
Scared
for your country.
I just think in general, it's like I don't know, there was nothing associated. It was just like immediate, oh, fuck.
Good response.
Yeah.
I mean, you now know this is real. This is a cover-up. They are lying about this stuff.
Yeah, at that point, I definitely knew the phenomenon was absolutely real. I knew we were tracking it. I knew we had lots of resources on it for some time. But getting to that final step in the ladder and seeing like, oh, and the cover-up is real, and it's inside the house.
Okay, so let's imagine this scenario. You go to school, you do so much, academic prosperity, and you study hard, you get into this where you want. Okay, and then you get into the Immaculate Constellation, right? Imagine being in the control room tracking all these UAP NHI craft in our atmosphere. This must be the most exciting, exhilarating, and interesting job ever. And if I was there, I would not even be able to believe I'm being paid to do this incredible work. What would your reaction be? Whether you're religious and you see all this happening, tracking these craft, would you be like, that's demons? Or would you be like, aliens? Or what would you even think? Maybe a adversary that has made huge leaps and left the US behind. Hopefully not the last one, right?
You read one document that said Immaculate Constellation and it had some images with it. What additional information did you come across that reinforced your belief that there is a big surveillance program collecting this stuff?
Well, I mean, one is just the fact of its existence, right? In the brief, it's talking about the general mission. It's giving examples, but it's clearly talking about a collection mission. And then there's programs that have since become public. The most relevant one in this case is the NRO Sentient program, that kind of, at least in the open source way, demonstrates how you don't need a massive workforce to do this anymore. You don't need buildings without windows for acres to people taking this information and sanitizing it, making it sure it gets to the right people without the wrong things in it. And that's just on the inside.
Right. Like you don't also need exposure to a bunch of human beings with individual egos and identities. To be clear, there's kind of AI siphoning off of data and information to keep it compartmentalized without spying of human eyes, even within our intelligence agencies, if I'm understanding it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Janus, a two-faced god. It takes things in one end and makes sure you hear what you need to hear out the other.
Right. And you suspect that UAP, when that data is collected and brought in and ingested, that there is a whitewashing, or not whitewashing of it, there is a clarifying of that stuff to make sure the general people in the intelligence community don't see it.
Absolutely. And that's a long-standing practice, especially for imagery intelligence. Nothing about UFOs. Back in the Cold War days, if something, a facility or an aerospace platform was seen that, was collected, there would be there'd be a full version, right, for those who needed it. But if you just needed to see the facility, but maybe not the plane, those would be manually excised. Now we have tools to do that for us.
Could you describe then for us how you think this works? Whatever the name for it is now, how it works.
Well,
Did we have an AI system in 2018 that could do what we're describing?
Well, we know we did. Those documents have since become public.
Right.
Sentient.
Right.
And the fact that Sentient was operational at those dates of the documents mean it was operational for years before then, years before 2018.
We've had our conversations, private and otherwise, about this kind of an operation. And it just seems like, gosh, there should be somebody who's...
If there is actually, in real life, where me and you are existing today and breathing the same air, is this type of program. There's so much data, so much footage, so much information that is being kept. It's ridiculous that not more has been leaked, right? But they're clamping hard so down on these whistleblowers. It's just all really confusing, right? What is so bad about this that nobody can know? It can't be national security exclusively, right?
Collecting all this information and studying it and trying to figure it out. And the fact that it goes into the executive branch somewhere, if that's what happens to it, good. I'm glad somebody's doing it. Why is that, as you've learned about it, why is that not necessarily a good idea? Is it because it's not maybe really within the executive branch, that it's an entity unto itself?
Why it may not be a good idea to censor our intelligence products that are circulated within our cleared community to our service members that are on the front lines every day is because you are blinding them to their environment. You are opening them to threats. You're exposing them to risks. And you are essentially inhibiting the pursuit of national security objectives by doing so. There's a reason you guys have talked to so many whistleblowers from the military who see these things. That's partially because they're reporting it, they feel endangered by it, and nothing is being done, and no answers are being given. And they are, in some cases, suffering legitimate injuries.
And just for some context to see how far we've come, like a few years ago, it was pretty much the only thing I can think of is Skinwalker Ranch, and that was like this fucking hooey conspiracy theory infested show with people wanting to profit off of views from their TV show. Right now we got Skywatchers. Oh yeah, I think we had Oak Island back there, but now we have Skywatchers. We have all this YouTube content, all these channels, all this. Everyone's covering it, and now there's supposedly this fucking insane program where everyone's just tracking this stuff using the latest state-of-the-art technologies, AI, and like the public's funds, taxpayer money, and it's a shit ton. And this seems really complex and thorough. So yeah, it's just crazy to me that we've come all this way to know about Immaculate Constellation and what is going to come out next. And I wonder if the Skinwalker aspect of this to where this phenomenon follows you, does this phenomenon follow everyone from this program home? Do they have protection measures to not have that happen? Or, there's so many questions.
Artificial intelligence and warfare. Let's talk about what this really could look like.
Vladimir Putin once told a group of young students that whoever leads an AI will rule the world, and why the White House recently issued its first memo on AI, calling it an era-defining technology with significant and growing relevance to national security.
Swarms of lethal drones with facial recognition that know your every move.
Our military is going to have to change if we are going to continue to be superior to every other military on Earth. And it's through that degree of strength, that military strength, and the willingness to use it, that I think you maintain that international order and that you maintain the peace.
Whereas if you have a computer system that is offering a bank of targets and the commander is scrutinizing those and knows the system, he knows what it's been trained on, and therefore he knows when it might work effectively and when it might not. And he knows when not to rely on it. He knows when to question it, when to mistrust its inputs. That seems to me much more like human control, even if he is ceding quite a lot of control in some circumstances. But
is that motherfucking Nick Pope's voice? Guys, you're fucking down bad, up balls deep in this UFO shit when you can recognize ufologists' voices just by listening, okay? Is that sad or is that good? We don't know. We're gonna find out, guys.
Holding it back in others. For me, that is the debate. It's way more complex than, hand over to the killer robots or not. It's when are you trusting the systems? What do you know about them? Have you interrogated them to understand what their weak spots are? That to me is really where the debate should be.
Or unmanned armed robots that are near impossible to defeat.
As we saw earlier, in war, whoever can get the most information and make the most accurate, fastest decisions is usually the victor.
There have been several periods in history that have transformed military operations or armed warfare. Where does artificial intelligence sit in that?
That's huge. In fact, I've referred to it as the mother of all technologies sort of thing.
Autonomous fighter jets that can travel at supersonic speeds and can withstand greater gravitational force than a human pilot could survive.
Humans tend to assume that decisions made by a machine are correct, which makes us particularly prone to be swooned by AI-generated information. I mean, I feel this. When I talk to ChatGPT, I often feel a bias to believe it because it sounds right. The machine just spit it out in this digestible, authoritative, natural language. So there will be a lot of incentive and momentum to let the machine do a lot of the work, to make decisions quickly and deal with the consequences later. Something we may may not be able to catch until it's too late.
Cyber attacks that incapacitate critical port infrastructure, or disinformation campaigns and deepfakes that throw presidential elections.
Machines are going to make mistakes. They'll do some horrible things. They will encourage you to bomb a building that you thought was a military target that turns out to be a shelter for civilians. But hey, guess what? Humans do that as well. The question is, are machines going to reduce the incidence of those things?
Or even foreign adversaries taking out satellites, our eyes and ears in space, rendering us blind to global events.
As of now, the Department of Defense guidelines say fully autonomous weapons systems must allow commanders and operators to exercise appropriate levels of human judgment over the use of force. Those standards will apply to a new defense program called Replicator, a Pentagon initiative aimed at countering the size of China's military. The program will produce thousands of autonomous weapons systems powered by artificial intelligence. The International Committee of the Red Cross says autonomous weapons, including those that use AI, could lead to unintended consequences like civilian casualties or an escalation of conflict.
The reality is, there's no going back. No one's going to pump the brakes on integrating AI technology into warfare. No one's going to wait for the ethicists and the lawyers to decide if this is ethical or legal or safe. Geopolitics will force this forward. All we can hope for is wisdom and foresight from those making the decisions on how we use these systems so that we approach it humanely and responsibly.
All super intelligent weapons of terror.
The future is going to be humans working with AI to wage war.
Artificial intelligence has a huge amount of legal, ethical, and moral implications that we're just beginning to start to come to grips with.
We're at the dawn of a new age of warfare.
I can definitely see this as a problem because even when using AI, right, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I can trust this thing to be more logical than me in a way. And then I'm like, it's AI, it's trained off people's data, right? And then it's like this weird inner, argumentation. And yeah, I can really see this as a way. But like, again, then you got to look at it. AI takes all of people's logical thinking and data together. So it's like a high version of everyone that has ever contributed data to it. And the more one person has contributed, the more the AI will take from that one person. So it's like a circle chart with all these users' data, but there's going to be like so much fucking, And yeah, it's just fascinating to see our biases with AI. And I think this should be studied significantly more. But the US general that said, the army that strikes faster and first and all this and that, I don't know. I think there's plenty of ways to observe how what the best army would look like, right? But I'm sure the US with all its might will figure this one out.
In part 3 of our interview with the author of the Immaculate Constellation report.
What is it like to have absolute knowledge that not only UFOs are real, that we've been hiding that our government has controlled that information away from the base human population?
What I have learned is that we live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. We make use of a science that is tightly controlled and suppressed and distorted.
Who are they? Why are they here? Why don't they show us what's going on?
I think I have a good degree of confidence that the reason they're here is us. I think life, especially sentient life, is a precious thing. And I think to some, it might be a resource.
Jesus Christ, guys. What does that even mean, right? Sentient life could be a resource for them. Who is them? The NHI? Do they eat us? Do they how would that even work? How would a biological being or person or, you know, animal, we are probably animals considering, right? Why would the consciousness aspect be different from a non-consciousness aspect? It's just meat, right? Or is it something in the brain? Is it something like metaphysical? Or, you know, there's so many questions, but really intriguing. Really looking forward to the next episode of Weaponized. Make sure you check it out, links down below. I upload every day. I'll see you tomorrow. Subscribe, guys.
X gon' give it to you. Wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door, it's real. With the non-stop pop out and stainless steel. Go hard, getting busy with it. But I got such a good heart that I make the mother wonder if you did it. Damn right, and I do it again. Cause I am light, so I got to win. Break bread with the enemy. No matter how many cats I break bread